Welcome to the deck tech that completes the pattern I accidentally stumbled upon when thinking about what hero to talk about next. As you can see, we did Prism, Chane, Prism, and now once again Chane. With this budget Blitz deck we want to go wide, meaning we want to play a lot of small attacks in a single turn. And Chane really supports that kind of gameplay with his playstyle. Our banished zone grows bigger every turn, and the Blood Dead cards we put into it can all be played from there. As I already said in my Chane Commoner deck tech, this makes our banished zone feel like an ever-growing arsenal rather than a banished zone. Before we dive into the deck, there are two things to talk about first, of course. First of all, the price of the deck. This budget Blitz deck clocks in at $21.56, so right around the same price as my other budget Blitz decks so far. And the second thing is, if you like what you see and want more of it, then please consider subscribing and liking the video. I'd really appreciate that. I want to see if we can hit 100 subscribers by the end of February, and I'd be thrilled if you could help me out with that. Now that we're done with all the blibbity blabbity, let's take a look at our hero. Chane has the never before seen stats of 4 intelligence and 20 health. He also has a very crucial ability for this deck. Once per turn, we can create a Soul Shackle token and give the next Shadow or Runeblade action we play this turn go again. Soul Shackle is a Shadow Runeblade token aura that reads, at the beginning of your action phase, banish the top card of your deck. Since these accumulate with every turn, this will be our main way to get our Blood Dead cards into our banished zone. The weapon we're using is Rosetta Thorn. Once per turn we can pay 1 resource to attack for 2 damage. Although, if we've played an attack action card and a non-attack action card that turn, it deals 2 arcane damage on top of that. As for armor, we clad ourselves in the following. Ebonfold has an instant ability. We can pay 1 resource and destroy Ebonfold to put a card from our hand into our banish zone. If it's a shadow card, we get to draw a card. This is of course synergizing really well with our playstyle. For example, we could pitch a blue to activate Ebonfold, banish a Blood Dead card, they all have the Shadow super type, and draw a card. We now have 2 resources left, put a card into our banished zone that we can play from there, and we've drawn a card on top of that. It also has Spell Void 2. Aether Ironweave has 1 armor and Battle Worn, so it stays around after blocking, but with a -1 defense counter on it. We can also destroy Aether Ironweave to gain 2 resources. This ability can only be activated if we've played an attack action card and a non-attack action card that turn. Go again. Vexing Quillhand is our majestic hand equipment that we can destroy in order to gain 2 Runechant tokens and go again. A Runechant token is a Runeblade aura token that is destroyed if we attack with either a card or a weapon. When the aura is destroyed, we deal 1 arcane damage to our opponent. It has Arcane Barrier 1 as well. Vexing Quillhand, that is, not the token. Our leg equipment is Sutcliffe's Sweet Hides. I think it's pronounced sweet. Its ability is an attack reaction. We can pay 1 resource and destroy them to give target attack action card go again. This ability can only be activated if we've played a non-attack action card that turn. Equipment to switch in at your own discretion is Crown of Dichotomy if you feel Ebonfold isn't working for you. We can pay 1 resource and destroy it to put a Runeblade attack action card and a Runeblade non-attack action card from our graveyard on top of our deck in any order. It has Arcane Barrier 1. Iron Rod Helm and Gauntlet will provide us with additional block value. And Narun Robe will give us an additional point of Arcane Barrier. Before we look at any card in the deck itself, every Shadow and or Runeblade attack action blocks for 3 and every other card blocks for 2. Let's take a look at the Blood Dead cards first, since they are so important to this deck. And before I forget to mention it, if there's a Blood Dead card in our banish zone at the end of our turn, we lose 1 life for each of those cards. So we want to make sure to get them out of there. We start with red and blue Bounding Demigon. It costs 0 to play and strikes for either 3 or 1 damage. If we've played a non-attack action card before, we may play Bounding Demigon from the banish zone. If we do, it gains +1 attack. Next up is the Red Ghostly Wizard. It costs 1 and deals 4 damage, and we may play it from our banish zone. No strings attached. The Red Riftbind costs 1 to play and has 3 attack. We may play it from the banish zone, and if we do, it gains +X attack, where X is the number of non-attack action cards we have played that turn. A really nice integrated buff we can take advantage of in this deck. Unhallowed Rites can be pitched for 1, costs 1 and hits for 4. If we've played a non-attack action card the turn we want to play Unhallowed Rites, we may play it from our banish zone. Also, we may even put a non-attack action card with Blood Debt from our graveyard on the bottom of our deck. Unfortunately, there are only 2 copies of one in our deck, but better than none, I guess. While we're at it, let's talk about that card right away. Invert Existence can be pitched for 3, costs 1 to play, and we may play it from our banish zone. It reads: banish up to 2 cards from an opposing hero's graveyard. If an attack action card and a non-attack action card are banished this way, deal 2 arcane damage to that hero. The final Blood Debt card has one of my favorite artworks in the whole game: Shadow of Ursa. It reminds me a lot of MTG's infamous Chaos Orb. Anyway, it has a blue color strip, costs 0 to play and attacks for 2. As an additional cost to play Shadow of Ursa, we may banish a card with Blood Debt from our hand. If we do, Shadow gains go again. So basically it does all the things we wanted to do. A great card on the outside and on the inside as well. As for our non-Blood Debt attacks, we play the amazing Belittle, a card so good that it's banned in almost every format, but not in Blitz. At least not yet. We play the red and yellow version of this card. As an additional cost to play Belittle, we may reveal an attack action card with base power 3 or less from our hand. In return, we may search our deck for a card named Minnowism, reveal it and put it into our hand. There are 2 ways to benefit from this effect. Either we need to push through additional damage, in that case we want to search for the red Minnowism to buff our next attack by 3, or we need additional resources. In that case we can search for the blue Minnowism, so we can use it to pitch for 3. Oh yeah, and Belittle attacks for either 3 or 2 damage. The red Shrill of Skull form is, simply put, just a big hitter. It costs 2 resources and deals 4 damage. If we've created an aura that turn, it deals an additional 3 damage for a total of 7. Soul Reaping is a Chane specialization that costs 6 resources. Damn. But we may banish 1 or more cards from our hand rather than pay its resource cost. If we do, we gain 1 resource for every card with Blood Debt we banished this way. Needless to say, but this is a really powerful effect. Paying no resources and putting cards with Blood Debt where we want them to be, to then even gain resources on top of that? Yes, please. Something that is only occasionally relevant with this card, but good to have nonetheless. If we attack a hero with 1 or more cards in their soul, Soul Reaping has go again. The last attack on the menu is Vexing Malice. We play the red and blue color strip versions and it costs 1 resource to play. It pricks our opponent for 3 or 1 damage, but both versions also deal 2 arcane damage as well. Now for our non-Blood Debt, non-attack action cards, of which we play quite a few actually. We'll start with the ones that will give our attacks go again. We play all versions of Morvrian Skies. It costs 0 resources and gives the next Runeblade attack action card we play that turn go again. If it hits, we get a Runechant token for our trouble. Of course, it also has go again. Captain's Call has a yellow color strip and costs 0 to play. We can either give the next attack action card with cost 1 or less we play that turn +2 attack, or we can give it go again. It's our choice to make depending on our circumstances. Let's continue with attack buffs for now. We briefly went over what to do with Minnowism. We play of course the red and blue versions of it, and it costs 0 resources to play. It gives the next attack action card with base power 3 or less we play that turn +3 or +1 attack respectively. Go again. Plunder Run is red and also costs 0 resources. The next time an attack action card we play that turn hits, we draw a card. We ideally want to play Plunder Run from our arsenal, because if we play it from there, it will even give the next attack action card that turn +3 damage. Naturally, it has go again. And for this deck's last card, we have Sting of Sorcery, a blue Runeblade aura we can play for 0 resources. The first thing it throws at us is that it has Go Again. But that's not all. It gives all attack action cards we control. If you attack with this, deal 1 arcane damage to target hero. An amazing buff for a really wide turn. Unfortunately, but understandably, it is destroyed at the end of our turn. And now the pattern is complete. Prism-Chane, Prism-Chane. On to greener pastures in the next one. I'm not quite sure yet what it'll be, but I'll come up with something, that's for sure. I hope you enjoyed this deck tag and enjoy playing this deck as well. I'll see you in the next one and take care.